Hey, what is going on, guys? This is John from Toontown Offline. Today I'm joined here with some other Toontown Offline staff members, and today we will be talking about the Toontown Offline 2.5 update. We're going to be talking about what has been going into this update, a couple of major changes that will be coming to Toontown Offline, both in terms of the game and staff, and later on we will also be talking about probably the biggest update in Toontown Offline history, which will be Operation Duck Hunt. So for the 2.5 update, there has been countless amounts of effort that have gone into the 2.5 update just by itself. It has been a work in progress for several months now, and we are just getting to a point where 2.5 is ready to be released to the general public. So I'm going to start off by talking about some of 2.5's major changes that I've been working on recently that I think you guys will really like for Toontown Offline. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is multi-platform support. Toontown Offline, up until this point, has been a Windows-only game with a very brief time period in 2015 where it had Mac support. Recently, I have been working on Mac support for the game as well as Linux support. I'm happy to say that Mac support is finally at a state where it can be released in version 2.5, and Linux support will soon be following in subsequent versions. If you guys are familiar with Toontown Offline and have played it in the past, you're probably familiar with our launcher that is used to start the game, update the game, connect to mini servers, and configure some in-game settings. This launcher was our first attempt at an in-game launcher slash patcher, and while it accomplished its goal for most of its lifespan, in fact the majority of its lifespan, it has always been rather quirky in a sense where download speeds have always been rather slow, stability of the launcher has been iffy, and the overall quality was, sort of, subpar for what it was. Initially, it was rushed out, and it sort of shows. So with 2.5, we will also be unveiling an entirely new launcher for Toontown Offline that will be releasing for both Windows and Mac in the 2.5 release. This new launcher will feature an installer that will essentially install your game to the program files of your Windows PC, and on your Mac, it will be found in your applications folder. This is a lot better than the previous setup of having to download zip files off of Google Drive and extract those zip files, and then every time a launcher updates, you have to download a new zip file. You will no longer have to do that in the 2.5 release with the new launcher, as immediately upon installing the launcher, you will be notified whenever there is a launcher update, and you will be redirected to the site to download the update launcher, which will also be an installer that will overwrite your current one. Your Toontown Offline files will be installed in standard directories instead of being installed in random locations, and the launcher features several navigation options that will allow you to easily find that directory for submitting log files and such. So that is basically all I have to say starting off in terms of, the major things that I've been working on with 2.5 so far. So I think we're going to go to Ben now so he can talk about what he's been working on with 2.5.
Alright, thank you, John. So I just want to add something about what you said with the launcher. The launcher, when the players are going to see it, it is a real flashback to some of the old Toontown launchers, specifically two of the launchers through the past. So the first one you will see is directly right when you start up the launcher. You're going to notice Flippy staring at the camera just like in the old one. And there's going to be some tunes in the background too, and those are actually staff member tunes that you're going to see. So it's kind of an old flashback to that launcher, but at the same time, you will see when you install the game the old seltzer bottle. If some of you played the game even back then, I forgot the years, maybe 2005, 2006, they had that seltzer bottle, 2007 possibly, and that would be on the web browser when you downloaded the game files or updated or did whatever. So yeah, we recreated that. Some of the new and existing artists really did a fantastic job with that. But aside from the launcher, for the actual game itself, as John said, we have put many months into 2.5. Originally, the update was just going to be a couple of small things because, our staff was much smaller. The team was much smaller over the summer, and we were all doing lots of things. Like, I, for one, went to Toonfest, and so did John. We went to the TTR Toonfest, so we were busy doing stuff. Just summer vacations, all that jazz. So some of us were very busy at the time, so we didn't really get to work on too much of what we wanted. But in the background, a couple of people were working on some really cool stuff, and that kind of just piled up over time. all that little small things, all the small things just piled up. So whether it be the redesigned title screen or all the new commands that our new team member Rhino added, just a bunch of small things piled up over time, and we pretty much just compiled them all into this big update. So what are the big things? Well, of course, we have definitely done a huge revamp to the prologue. This will probably be the last revamp we ever do unless some minor tweak has to be made. Our artist, our lead artist, Smoking Foreman, has done an excellent job at doing a lot of stuff. He redid the chairman, he edited the lab, you're gonna see it all when you play in game, and I highly advise you play it. It's not like some of our previous prologue changes where you might have changed a couple things. No, we've changed a lot of stuff in the prologue and added a lot, and we polished it up really good, and we think it is some of our best content, best quality content to date. So I definitely advise checking that out. Also, thank you to Andrew for helping us work on part of that too. Really appreciate it, man. Another part is the conclusion of the Gyro's Tale episode. Now, that has been released in parts. So we had part 1, which was just a small little part. Part 2, which was a bit more intense. And part 3 is going to be the longest of them all. And I think this will bring the Gyro's Tale episode to the longest episode we've had. It's the least interactive episode, unfortunately, but it really does a good job of storytelling. And this storytelling is really needed for what you guys are going to see in the Duck Hunt update. And it also ties in some loose ends, and if you really like the storyline for either Toontown Offline or Toontown Rewritten, because we are based on the Toontown Rewritten storyline, and I really do think you're going to enjoy what the conclusion to the Gyro's Tale episode will have to offer. So, apart from that, we have the prologue revamp, Gyro's Tale. Another big thing is a Boss Fight HQ revamp, which will also, we're kind of trying to stray away from Toontown Rewritten, and trust me, we're going to get into that later. John will talk about that later. But yeah, we redone Boss Fight HQ. Smoking Foreman did a nice job at that. So it looks more as if it was the original Disney version, but it had a few twists onto it. And also, for now, at least, the Executive Office Tower is deep into the Bosswhat Forest. So, unfortunately, because of this revamp, we've had to remove the Executive Office Tower Toon task. So if you've had that task on your Toon, you'll be asked to turn it in to Flippy. If you completed it, then good. Hope you had fun while that task was out. We will be sort of re-implementing it in a different mannerism at a later date. But for now, that task has been removed with the Bosswhat HQ revamp. Okay, other than the Bosswhat HQ revamp, we have expanded on to adding the TTR Toonfest in our game. Before it was just, alright, you could load the area, you saw the Toonfest Tower, nothing really happened there. There weren't any trees, you could just talk to Riggy, fish, that's about it. We've added a lot, so you can now get tokens via fishing, or the party cannons, trampolines. You can actually buy stuff from the vendors now from those tokens. We've added most of the TTR rewards, and a couple of unique ones, I believe. Not all of the TTR rewards are there, but, it's a work in progress, and we did not just want to leave the Toonfest zone empty. It's kind of a little project I undertook when I got back from the In Real Life Toonfest. I just thought, hey, why not? Let me just kind of do some more stuff, and me and some others worked on it, and we got it to a good state. Alright, so the Toonfest Boss Fight HQ episodes. Other than that, it's pretty much what John said about the new launcher installer. Paves the way for some really great stuff with support for Mac, Linux, etc. And our installation process is easier than it has ever been. Like, new users would often run into so many issues, whether it be their antivirus would find our game to be a false positive, which pretty much means it thought our game was a virus, and obviously it's not, or among other things, but that will all be solved, hopefully all of it will be solved, probably, with all the new launcher stuff. Aside from that, there are some also smaller subcategories. There's been a lot of improvements to retro mode, there's been a lot of improvements to counter versatility, there has been a load of new magic words, and we're kind of trying to form magic words to be a full-on supported, in-game lore supported, at least semi-lore supported. We're not going to include it in proper Toontown lore, but we added a little bit of stuff about it, but you can see that in the release notes. We added a lot of magic word stuff. Other than that, Cog Disguise Versatility. We improved a little bit of our holidays. Halloween in particular, we've improved that quite a bit. Added some more holiday stuff, and other than that, that's pretty much it. We've added a boatload of bug fixes, miscellaneous features such as the Flower of Doom, adding colors, adding shirts. And actually, yeah, if you want to talk about that now for a little bit, Lunatic, do you want to talk about some of the shirts and some of the also little improvements that you've added art-wise?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Yes, over the past few months, me and a few other artists, including Clue, me myself, an ex-artist, Brady, and so forth with a lot of our contributors, we've added a lot of new content in our game. I personally have retextured a bunch of old textures of ours, including a bunch of custom shirts, HackerBot suit textures, and heads. Clue has also revamped a lot of things for the launcher, as you'll see, and also, if you have seen, there has also been some new Pikatoon screens. If you go to the brand new revamped retro mode, you can see a brand new retro mode Pikatoon screen, and also the elections has a custom new Pikatoon screen. I think I'm done talking with art right now, so I'm gonna pass my mic to Frank.
All right. So, I'm gonna go over the website. As you may have, if you actually look in announcements, you may have seen a post by Jake S of a toolbar design, and if you actually realize we're doing a little website revamp. So one of our assistant developers, I believe, Jake is he is doing a redesign of the website to make it more nice, I guess, is what I should say for it. So you may notice how it has a servers thing. That will be a mini servers list connected to the website. Now, with this mini servers list, you will be able to register your own mini servers. By register, I mean you'll sign up. We're not sure how the system's going to go yet. We don't know anything about that. We just know that the general consensus is that you'll be able to register a mini server, and the mini server will be, approved through the website, and it'll show up there. And there will be a feature in a launcher for it that John will add in, and there will be a feature in game for it that I will add in, and that feature in game will allow you to easily switch between active mini servers in game, so you don't have to log out and go through the launcher. You could easily just go in the book and click on the mini server page and click on a mini server and connect to whichever one you want. So I think that'll be a pretty nifty feature for that, just to add some convenience to anything that you want to really do. But otherwise, that's really all I have to talk about. So I'm gonna hand everything over to Ben.
All right, thank you, Frank. So yeah, that's pretty much most of all the things that are coming with 2.5. The new website may not exactly be ready by 2.5. By the time this video is out, 2.5 will be released, or it will be, shortly after. But it will be coming, and our assistant developers will be working on that. Those are mainly all the features. But there is a really key thing to note, and maybe if John wants to talk about this a bit more, without all the new team members recently and some sort of quote rebranding, I guess you could say, that we've been doing, I don't think this big update would exactly have been what it is. So do you want to talk about some of the new team and new ideas, John?
I certainly would. So of course, Toontown Offline has gotten where it is today, with the majority of its contributions being from the community. Now, Toontown Offline initially start off as a very small team, and for the longest time it was. In fact, for the most part, Toontown Offline, in terms of who we let on the team, we are very specific of people who we allow to work with us. The people who we choose to work with us are typically those who are deemed very trustworthy and have been friends with us for an extended period of time. The Toontown Offline team is basically composed of all friends. If you see a Toontown Offline staff member, you can assume that we are all a part of a large circle of friends who just enjoy working on Toontown and, you know, have great ideas for Toontown Offline. So recently, we've been sort of redefining what Toontown Offline is, in a sense where we've brought on more staff onto the team, namely people such as Clue, Frank, Jake S, Bill, several more. Since the 2.4 update, actually, there's been a lot of new people. Rhino's new, Clue's new, Jake's new, Bill's new, Frank's new. These aren't exactly people who are new to Toontown Offline. For example, Rhino's been around since like Toontown Offline began, but they've become staff recently in order to help with 2.5 and Duck Hunt in the future. And really, these new staff members are crucial to the game to us even being able to release 2.5 today. I think before it was important to consider that there were 3 developers, and a lot of the times, you know, there weren't always, like, the 3 of us were not always able to work on the game. So progress is slow when you only have 3 developers. We now have 7 or 8 developers, which will mean that progress will be able to go a lot smoother and updates will be able to be released a lot quicker. 2.5 is likely going to be the last major update before Duck Hunt. However, it also means that Duck Hunt will finally be able to get the attention that it deserves from a much larger team with a much, you know, wider skill set and much larger ambitions. Outside of that, I'm really hard pressed to say, you know, I'm hard pressed to think about what else to say. Of course, everybody on the
Yeah, so if I want to add, something that you could say we're rebranding the team as is, Offline's always been a kind of thing that it's supposed to make sure you can always play Toontown even after all the main private servers go off. The launcher and at least the game files will always be out there for you to play. You can always host the mini server 50 years from now. It won't really matter. So we're trying to really reinforce that too, but also we have taken an effort to begin removing some TTR things, like the loading screen, Boss Code HQ, and in the future, maybe not soon, after Duck Hunt, if we're still inspired to do such a thing right here. I was thinking about maybe us removing Toonfest and eventually removing even more Toontown Rewritten related things, because we want to be a more independent project. As also seen, we have a new theme, which does not veer off too much from the Disney's Toontown Online theme, but it does have a couple extra added jingles. And at the end, if you notice, we have a little DuckTales jingle. And if anyone gets why we did that, it's because recently, and a new episode of DuckTales, a Toontown reference was made. And because that ties in a lot with our storyline, we thought it was right. So in our new jingle, right at the end, is a little bit of a DuckTales reference. But yeah, we have the new theme, new title screen, new loading screens, which are community screenshots, mind you. So really, we're kind of trying to redefine, or maybe not redefine, but reinforce what the project is all about and what some of our goals and ambitions are. We really want to be independent. We don't want to rely on too many other things. You have anything else to add, John?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers that.
Alright, so do you want to start talk about what the future is for Duck Hunt, or do you want me to talk about that first?
The future of Duck Hunt. To be honest, I think that you should at least start off because you know more about it. You could always go to me afterwards, but definitely.
Right. So I'm gonna lay down straight. We have been in development of Duck Hunt since August or September of 2015. The update was first named the Interim Elections, and trust me, a lot of this core concept has been scrapped, but you have to also trust me when I say that when Duck Hunt is released, the final product, any and all scrapped content we have had for either the interim elections or Duck Hunt itself will be released as a public playable special version of the game, just so it never goes to waste. You're always going to see the what if before we produce that final product that we're going to be solely focusing on after 2.5. But since the conception of Duck Hunt, or rather the interim elections, began in 2015, it has gone through lots of ups and downs. So it began in late 2015, but of course the project was temporarily discontinued for around 4 or 5 months. So then when we brought it back, we kind of, renamed it from the interim elections into Duck Hunt. Because, a lot of storyline changes we wanted to make were happening. We wanted to make things make a lot more sense. And so we continued off of that. And I would say maybe this time last year, if we were to continue on the same plan, then Duck Hunt was, I'd say, 70% done this time last year. All right. But ever since then, I believe earlier this year, maybe I think it was March, somewhere around there, April, we've reevaluated definitely for the last time the storyline and how we want to proceed with things. And that was mainly, I was the one who mainly pushed for this. And now I think our story for this update and the gameplay for this update and our ideas set for it have never been more clear. They've never been more apparent. In the past, things might have been confusing. We might have not known exactly what to do. We know exactly what we want to do now, and we are doing it. So I think we went from being 70% done to now, I think we're about 30% done, maybe 25%. But that's not really a thing to worry about, because I would rather our players play a really quality, well thought out, well worked on project than something that might seem a bit rushed or doesn't make all too much sense, or the storyline doesn't have too much meaning. I really want to give it a storyline that has meaning to what has been conceptualized by the original installer video and what has been brought forth by Joey in the TTR storyline. I really want to flesh that out and finish it for those who really enjoy those aspects of the game. So we have kind of done a little change on Duck Hunt, a big change, for the final time, and we'll be focusing purely on that going forward. Now, Duck Hunt itself has not seen any commits, any progress on it, really, in, I would say, maybe 8 months, maybe a little bit more, because life has been quite something else for the team, whether it be school or a busy summer or just focusing on 2.5. A lot of things have popped up, but we all have it in our minds to work on this. And I would personally like to apologize for us having beforehand set goals such as winter 2016/17, whenever we would ever say, oh, it's coming up then, because I don't think those were a little bit ambitious, but in the end, we were not able to meet them, and I don't want to have to supply an ETA that we cannot meet. So for now, that being said, Duck Hunt does not have an ETA, but I would think that is more of a good thing than a bad thing. I would like to evaluate our progress as we restart our work on this thing. I mean, not restart. Of course, we're not scrapping everything. But we do have a lot of work done, but we're going to kind of reboot our work on it, per se. And maybe later, we might give a little bit of an ETA, but that's still to be determined. We're going to see first. But rest assured, we're not going to work on any other features unless there's something major game-breaking bug. We're not going to work on anything else apart from this. And we're going to make it our best goal to get it on 2 guns. That's all I have to say. I just have to say Smoking Foreman has really been helping me a lot on the story and all the assets. And so thank you so much to our lead artist, Smoking Foreman. He's been putting in 110%. always, whether it be helping me with finalizing the story or mechanics, or even just recently working on assets. He's been a really big help. He's a great friend to everyone on the team. And yeah, so that's all I have to say. Do you want to add anything, John, about Duck Hunt, or anyone else want to add anything?
I just want to say that to anybody who has been following Toontown Offline for a while, since Duck Hunt has been in development, and may be sort of, discouraged by the lack of progress or the fact that it has been in development for 2 years, I just want to sort of, just reassure everybody that Duck Hunt has gone through. It has been through several iterations, several changes, several major changes that pushed development back. But I believe that after 2.5 is released and the team goes into full Duck Hunt mode, it will be finished faster than you may think. It's important to remember now that we have a much larger team and a much more competent team than we've ever had before. This means that prior to recently, we had 3 developers, and most of the time, it was only 1 or 2 active developers able to work on the game. And these 3 developers were all of different skill sets, so if one major problem came up, the one developer who would able to diagnose that would not be around. I will admit that there have been time periods where I've just not been around to work on the game, which was mainly a problem last year. However, I can assure you that that will no longer be a problem, and all developers, if possible, will be dumping in all of their effort towards Toontown Offline into the Duck Hunt update following 2.5, and we will not focus on anything else until Duck Hunt is near completion, if not completed. I also want to mention that it has been rumored that Toontown Offline will essentially die after Duck Hunt's release. I'm just going to first off say that that is false, but I also just want to clarify that Duck Hunt is going to likely be Toontown Offline's final major update. In a sense where once Duck Hunt comes out, Duck Hunt will be the largest update that we will have ever have made to Toontown Offline, and it will always probably stay that way. It's not likely that we are ever going to take on such an ambitious project as Duck Hunt again, for a couple reasons. Not because we wouldn't enjoy doing so, but it is important to remember that most of us are early adults, and we do have to focus on our future past Toontown Offline. Considering that Toontown Offline is merely a hobby, implementing large updates like this is really only something that we can do on our free time when we really don't have to worry about anything else. Most of us are moving on to college. I'm in my first year of college, and with that comes, worries about, or, thinking about what our future or careers will be. Toontown Offline has been great at building skills for many of us here. Toontown sparked my programming interests, and for many of us here, the skills that we possess to even work on Toontown Offline are because of Toontown Offline. With that said, even though Duck Hunt may be our last major update and our only major update to Toontown Offline of that degree, it doesn't mean that Toontown Offline will die, and it doesn't mean that we're going to abandon Toontown Offline. This team is large, and Toontown Offline is designed to never die. What I mean by that is even if folks like Ben and I and others move on to different things, Toontown Offline is really, it's in a state where it can easily be picked up by the remaining developers or even new developers who can continue to maintain Toontown Offline in a similar fashion to how we have before. Even if Toontown Offline goes in a state where it receives very little updates, like I said before, Toontown Offline is not a game that's easily going to be killed. There's no kill switch in Toontown Offline. There's no central server to shut off that would kill the game forever. The game files will always be around. You will always be able to play the game, and you will always be able to host mini-servers, even if the website is not online, even if the launcher is not online, and even if the game is not being maintained. But I want to just clarify that once Duck Hunt is released, Toontown Offline will still be maintained for well into the future afterwards. It may not be on the same level that it has currently, but it will not be abandoned. We just, as a team, do have future plans outside of Toontown after Duck Hunt is released, and we do plan on pursuing those, which means that Toontown Offline will likely not be a priority like it is now. But it will always be around and hopefully you guys will continue to enjoy it well into the future, even after Duck Hunt has been released. That's all I have to say.
I would also like to chime in about Duck Hunt. I know Duck Hunt has been in production for about maybe 2 or 3 years now, but I do want to say that you guys will be not disappointed about Duck Hunt. It's been through a lot of changes recently, and a lot of things have been changed and edited and moved and messed around with Duck Hunt. But I know that our final project will most likely wow you guys, and I hope you guys are still excited for Duck Hunt, as it's going to be one of our most biggest and may or may not be our last update that's big for Toontown Offline.
I'm not going to say too much on this, but there are more, for I guess you could say, reasons or motivations for us to work on this update than you may think. It is because we find it fun, and we just want to get it out, and we want to please our fans, but there are a couple other reasons that I'm not going to say, but trust me, all of us have very good reason to begin working 100% turbo on this once 2.5 is out, which is when you're watching this. So yeah. Do you want to close this out, John? Anything else?
I can't really think of anything to say that hasn't already been said, other than obviously huge thanks to everybody who has supported Toontown Offline since 2014. I know many of you have been around since 2014, and to those of you, I especially, my sincerest appreciation and thank you to everybody who has supported Toontown Offline and is looking forward to not only the 2.5 update, but also Operation Duck Hunt and any updates that may come after that. I look forward to hearing all of your guys' feedback, all of your bug reports, everything, all of your opinions on 2.5, as well as, any future hype for Duck Hunt will also likely motivate us to work on the update. So thank you all for all of your support to Toontown Offline, and I hope you guys enjoy 2.5.